Welcome to the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy listening. If you want to turn on subtitles, use YouTube's own subtitles.
I want you to picture a scenario. And it's a scenario that I think every single person listening to this has experienced, probably more times than they, care to admit.
Oh, definitely.
You're in a conversation, it's going okay. Someone looks at you, asks you a question in English, and you know the answer. You absolutely know it's right there, on the tip of your tongue. But before you can get the words out, your brain does this weird little stutter step.
That pause, that agonizing pause.
Exactly. It's like buffering. You look at, I don't know, a chair, or you think of an idea, and instead of the English word popping up, your brain just flashes the word in your native language.
Right.
Then you have to mentally go rummaging through this like filing cabinet in your brain, find the English equivalent, drag it to the front, and then you could speak.
The dreaded translation lag. It is, I think, the bane of every language learner's existence.
It feels clunky. It feels so slow. And honestly, it feels exhausting.
Oh, it is.
By the time you find the word, the moment's just gone, The joke isn't funny anymore. The insight isn't sharp.
And that exhaustion you mentioned, that's a real thing. It's cognitive load. You're literally doing double the work for, half the result?
So the holy grail, the thing we all want, is to stop doing that.
Yeah.
We want to just think in English.
Yeah.
But that feels like a superpower. It feels like something that, other people do.
It's not a superpower, though. That's the thing. It's a process. It is a specific cognitive shift. And that is exactly what we are digging into today.
Okay.
We are looking at a really comprehensive text. It's called The Cognitive Transition. And honestly, this is a fascinating read because it completely flips the script on this.
How so?
It argues that fluency isn't about how many words you've memorized. It's about a fundamental shift in how your brain actually processes reality.
A fundamental shift. Okay, I like the sound of that. So our mission today is to figure out how to stop translating and start, thinking.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting and why I'm so excited for this one, there is a meta layer to this deep dive.
There is. This isn't just a how-to guide. The source text itself is, it's a goldmine of language. It is incredibly dense with specific high-level academic English verbs.
Right. It's not written in casual street slang. It's written in that professional, polished academic English that makes you sound incredibly smart in a boardroom or a lecture hall.
Precisely. So the client has given us a very specific mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to talk about the concepts of learning.
Okay.
We are going to teach you the vocabulary used to describe those concepts. We're going to walk the walk, so to speak.
I love that. So throughout this hour, we are going to be explicitly highlighting, repeating, and really leaning into these academic verbs. Words like cultivate, hinder, restructure.
Circumlocute, consolidate, all of them.
I love it. The goal is that by the end of this deep dive, you won't just know how to think in English. You will have the precise vocabulary to describe how you are doing it. You'll be able to, articulate your own learning process.
It's a 2-for-1 special. You get the method and you get the words.
That's the idea.
Okay, let's get into it. The text kicks off with a pretty heavy demand. It doesn't sugarcoat it at all. It says that to truly think in English, we need to abandon something.
Right, to abandon. That is our first key verb. Now, just think about the weight of that word for a second. The text doesn't say try to translate less or, reduce your reliance on translation.
Yeah.
It says abandon it.
Abandon, it sounds so drastic. It's like abandoning a sinking ship. You leave it behind completely. You don't look back.
That's the exact connotation the author wants. To abandon means to leave something behind completely, to give it up entirely.
Wow.
The source material argues that if you keep translation as a crutch, if you keep it as a backup plan, you will never achieve true fluency. You have to cut the safety line.
That's scary, though. If I abandon translation, what do I replace it with? What's left?
Well, instead of translating, the text says you need to cultivate a direct cognitive link.
Cultivate. I really like the choice of that word. It sounds, agricultural, like you're growing something in a garden.
That is the perfect analogy, and it's why academic English favors this verb over just saying, make or build.
Right.
To cultivate means to prepare and work on land in order to raise crops. Or, in a skill context, it means to acquire or develop a quality through sustained effort.
Right. You don't just snap your fingers and have a garden. You have to water it, you have to weed it, you have to wait for it. It implies time and care.
Exactly. You don't just switch to thinking in English overnight. You have to cultivate that connection between the thought in your head and the words from your mouth. You have to nurture that pathway until it grows strong.
So we are abandoning the old habit of translation in order to cultivate a new habit of direct thinking.
That's the core philosophy.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Why is translation so bad? I mean, why can't I just get really, really fast at translating? Isn't that the same thing?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The text explains that the problem lies in how learners perceive the language.
Perceive.
Yeah.
So to become aware or conscious of something, to interpret or look at something in a certain way.
Yes. Many, many learners perceive English as a code. They see it as a cipher that needs to be decrypted.
Decrypt, like in a spy movie, like I'm trying to hack into a mainframe or something.
Exactly like that. To decrypt means to make a coded message intelligible. So if you perceive English as a code to be decrypted, you are fundamentally adding an extra unnecessary step to every single interaction.
Okay, walk me through it.
You hear the English sound, your brain grabs it, it decrypts it into your native language so you can understand the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Then you formulate an answer in your native language, you re-encrypt it back into English, and then you speak.
I'm exhausted just hearing you describe it. That's so many steps.
It is, and the text uses a very specific verb to describe what happens because of this process. It says this extra step hinders communication.
Hinder. That's a great word for a professional setting. You know, this new policy is hindering our progress.
It is. To hinder means to create difficulties for someone or something, resulting in delay or obstruction. Translation literally hinders fluency. It acts as a roadblock. It slows down the processing speed of your brain.
So if I'm in a conversation and I'm translating, I am actively hindering my own ability to connect with the other person.
Yes. And it's not just about speed, it's about the flow. The text says when you try to convert reality through your native tongue taking the world, putting it into your language first, then into English, you inevitably encounter mental blocks.
Encounter, that's another good one. You don't just have a block, you encounter it. It implies you run into it unexpectedly, like you're on a journey.
Right, to face or experience something difficult or hostile. We've all been there. You're in a flow, you're talking, and then suddenly, bam, a wall.
You encounter a void where the word should be.
That happens because your brain is completely overloaded with the processing task of decrypting and encrypting. The RAM of your brain, so to speak, is full.
So the takeaway from this first section is pretty clear then. Fluency isn't just about having a massive dictionary in your head.
Not at all.
It's about how you utilize the words you have to construct meaning directly.
Utilize, which is really just a fancy, more academic way of saying use, but it implies using something practically and effectively. And construct to build. You're building meaning directly from the raw materials of English, not translating a blueprint from another language.
Okay, I'm sold on the philosophy. We need to abandon the translation filter because it hinders us. We need to cultivate direct thought. But now we need to get into the nuts and bolts. How do we actually do that? Because my brain has spent decades thinking in my native language.
Right.
The text calls this next section rewiring the hardware.
Yeah.
I love that.
This brings us to the mechanics of the brain. And the text makes a very important and a somewhat humbling point. The human brain is inherently lazy.
I feel attacked, but also I completely agree.
It's evolutionary. It's not a moral failing. Scientifically speaking, the brain seeks efficiency. It wants to save energy. So when you confront a new linguistic pattern...
Confront. So to face up to and deal with a problem or a difficult situation. So when I'm face to face with some confusing new English phrase.
Exactly. When you confront that new data, your brain's natural lazy instinct is to correlate it with something it already knows.
Correlate. That's a strong academic verb. To have a mutual relationship or connection. So one thing affects or depends on another. So my brain wants to connect the new English word to my old native word.
Precisely. It wants to stick them together. It wants to say, okay, dog equals perro or chien or inu. It wants to correlate them because it's way easier to just store them as a pair.
It's like trying to hang a new coat on an old hook because you're too lazy to screw a new hook into the wall.
That is a perfect image. But the text says we can't do that. We have to stop that process in its tracks.
How?
The text uses a very forceful verb here. It says you must suppress this urge.
Suppress. To forcibly put an end to something. To restrain. That sounds active. It sounds like a fight.
It is a fight, especially at the beginning. You have to actively suppress the desire to translate. You have to consciously push it down.
But practically how? I mean, if I see a chair, my brain screams chair in my native language before I can even stop it. It's automatic. It's a reflex. How do I suppress a reflex?
You have to change the association. This is where the text gets very practical with what it calls the chair exercise. It says that if you see the object and you recall the native word first, you are just reinforcing the wrong pathway.
Okay.
To rectify this.
Rectify. To put something right. To correct. I hear that a lot in customer service. We will rectify the situation immediately.
Exactly. To rectify this bad habit, you must associate the object directly with the English label.
Associate. To connect someone or something with something else in one's mind.
Right. So look at the physical object. Don't look at the word in your head. Look at the wood, the legs, the seat of the chair. See the thing. And directly associate that visual image with the sound chair. No middleman, no native language text popping up in your mind, just image English.
So practically speaking, the text is suggesting what? That I should talk to myself, like narrate my life.
Essentially, yes, it suggests labeling your environment. This is a drill. As you walk through your day, you identify objects, you describe actions, you narrate events. I am opening the door, the coffee is hot, the bus is late.
Do I have to say this out loud? Because if I'm walking down the street muttering, the bus is late, people are going to look at me funny.
You can absolutely do it internally. The internal monologue is the key. The goal is to facilitate a shift in processing.
Facilitate, to make an action or process easy or easier.
Exactly. By narrating your life in English, even just in your head, you facilitate a new way of processing reality. You are forcing your brain to bypass the translation filter.
Bypass. To go past or around, like a bypass on a highway. You skip the traffic jam of your native language.
And that is the entire goal. You want to bypass the native language center of your brain and go straight to the concept. This practice reinforces the neural pathways.
Reinforce, to strengthen or support, especially with additional material or practice.
Every single time you look at a cup and think cup, immediately you reinforce that new direct bridge. If you do it enough times, it becomes the default path. You are physically restructuring your brain.
Okay, so we are suppressing the urge to translate, we're associating words directly with objects, and we're reinforcing those pathways to bypass our native language. But
I have to bring up a major hurdle here.
Go for it.
Environment. It's easy to say think in English if you live in London or New York, but what if I'm living in Tokyo or Berlin or Sao Paulo? Everyone around me is speaking my native language. My brain is swimming in my native language all day long.
This is the most common objection, and it's a valid one. I can't learn because I'm not immersed. But the text argues that location is a myth.
A myth. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You need to compensate for the lack of natural input.
Compensate. So to reduce or counteract something by exerting an opposite force or effect?
Correct. You have a deficit of English input because of where you live, so you must actively compensate for it. You do this by establishing an artificial immersive environment.
Set up on a firm or permanent basis. So you have to build your own English bubble.
You have to build your own bubble. Exactly. The text notes that scholars advocate for this method intensely.
Advocate. To publicly recommend or support.
Scholars advocate surrounding yourself with English media to the point where it becomes your primary input. The text gives specific commands here. It says you should modify your digital settings.
Modify. To make partial or minor changes to something, usually to improve it. So like change my phone language to English.
Yes. Modify your phone, your laptop, your social media feeds. If you look at your phone 50 times a day, that is 50 times you are confronting English.
That's a good point.
And then you must consume content exclusively in English.
Consume. To eat or drink. But here, in this academic sense, it means to use up or absorb information.
Right. Watch movies, listen to podcasts like this one, read news, consume it all in English. But here is the critical part, and this connects back to our thinking goal. When you consume this content, how do you listen?
That's a good question. Usually, if I'm being honest. I listen, I hear a word I don't know, and I panic. I stop listening to the rest of the sentence because my brain is just stuck on that one word.
And that is exactly what you must stop doing. That panic hinders your growth. The text introduces what it calls the gist method.
Yeah.
It uses some great verbs here. It says you should aim to comprehend the gist, not every single word.
Comprehend. To grasp mentally, to understand. So just getting the main idea is enough.
For fluency training, yes.
Yeah.
And if you encounter an unknown term, there's that word encounter again, you should not look it up immediately. Instead, you must infer its meaning.
Infer. To deduce or conclude from evidence and reasoning rather than from explicit statements.
Yes. To infer means to read between the lines. It's like being a detective. Let's try a quick role play. I'll say a sentence with a weird word, and you have to infer the meaning. You ready?
Okay, yeah, hit me.
The man was absolutely famished, so he ordered 3 pizzas and ate them all himself within 10 minutes.
Okay. Famished, I might not know that word, but the context is. Okay, he ordered 3 pizzas, he ate them super fast. So he was hungry, like really, really hungry.
Exactly. You inferred that famished means extremely hungry based on the evidence. You didn't need a dictionary.
And the text also uses the word deduce in this section, right? They're similar.
They are. Deduce. To arrive at a fact or a conclusion by reasoning. It's very similar to infer, but it often implies a more, logical step-by-step process, like Sherlock Holmes. The text argues that when you force your brain to deduce the meaning of a word from the context, you are making the brain work for it.
It's the difference between being given the answer to a math problem and actually solving the puzzle yourself.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that effort, that cognitive struggle, actually enhances retention. If you look it up, you forget it in 5 minutes. If you deduce it, you remember it forever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about the kind of content I should consume? Can I just watch Friends on repeat for 5 years?
I mean, you could, but the text warns against that. It says you need to diversify your input.
Diversify. To make or become more diverse or varied.
If you restrict yourself to one type of content.
Restrict. To put a limit on, keep under control.
Right. If you restrict yourself to, say, only academic textbooks because you want to sound smart, your understanding of real-world language will deteriorate.
Deteriorate. To become progressively worse, that's a scary word. It implies, like, rotting away.
It does. If you only read formal English, your ability to understand slang, humor, or fast, everyday speech deteriorates. You become a robot. So you need to select materials that range from academic journals to casual YouTube videos.
Select. To carefully choose as being the best or most suitable.
You must select a variety of registers of speech. Formal, informal, serious, comedic. This ensures you're ready for any situation you might encounter.
Okay, let's just pause and recap the verbs so far, because we are throwing a lot at the listener and I want them to stick. We are abandoning translation to cultivate thinking. We're suppressing the urge to correlate English with our native tongue. We are compensating for our location by establishing an environment where we consume English and infer meaning from context.
That is an excellent summary. You are really consolidating the information as we go.
Consolidate. I know we're going to get to that one in detail later. But first, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the thing that stops most people from actually speaking.
Fear.
Fear.
Yes, the psychology of fluency. The text is very, very clear on this. Fear of making mistakes constrains a learner's potential.
Constrain. To severely restrict the scope, extent, or activity of something. It ties you up. It puts you in a straitjacket.
Fear acts like a cage. It constrains you. And why? The text says it's because students anticipate failure.
Anticipate. To regard as probable. To expect or predict.
They anticipate that they will say something wrong and that people will laugh or judge them or think they're stupid. They think accuracy is more important than fluency.
Right.
But the text says you must flip that. You must prioritize the flow of ideas.
Prioritize. To designate or treat something as more important than other things.
You have to make a choice. Is it more important to be perfect and silent, or is it more important to connect with another human and keep the conversation alive? To think in English, you must prioritize the flow.
And what about the errors? They're going to happen.
They are. You have to view errors not as failures, but as chances to refine your skills.
Refine. To improve something by making small changes, like refining oil or refining sugar. You're making it purer.
Exactly. You refine your English by making mistakes, noticing them, and fixing them for next time. But let's talk about the worst case scenario. You're speaking, you're in the flow, and suddenly you forget a word. Total blank. What do?
Usually, I freeze. I panic. My face gets hot.
The text has a specific strategy for this. It's called strategic competence, and it gives us a clear command. Do not cease speaking.
Cease. To bring or come to an end. Just stop. So don't stop.
Never stop. Do not cease. Instead, you must employ strategic competence.
Employ. To make use of.
And here is my absolute favorite verb from the entire text. This is the secret weapon of every fluent speaker. You must learn to circumlocute.
It is a magnificent word, circumlocute. It feels good just to say it.
Let's unpack it because it's so powerful. Circum comes from Latin, meaning circle.
Okay.
And locution means speaking. So to speak in circles.
Literally talking in circles.
Yes. To circumlocute means to use many words where fewer would do, especially to describe something when you don't have the specific word for it.
So it's the art of describing the thing you forgot.
Exactly. It's a magic trick. Let's play a game. I want you to describe a word to me without saying the word. I want you to circumlocute.
Okay, describe.
Describe an umbrella, but you've forgotten the word umbrella. Go.
Ugh. Okay, it's the object that you hold over your head when water is falling from the sky to keep yourself dry. It opens up like a big mushroom.
Perfect. You didn't say umbrella, but I knew exactly what you meant. You circumlocuted.
That actually felt empowering. I didn't get stuck. I just took a different path.
That's the entire point. You kept the conversation going. The text also says you can substitute.
Substitute. To use or add in place of.
If you can't remember the word administer, you can substitute it with manage or give. If you can't remember gigantic, you substitute very big. It's not as elegant, but it works.
And the text argues that this ability actually demonstrates high proficiency.
Demonstrate. To clearly show the existence or truth of something by giving proof or evidence.
It seems counterintuitive, right? You'd think forgetting a word demonstrates that I'm bad at English.
Not at all. Keeping the conversation going, sustaining the interaction.
Sustain. To strengthen or support. To keep something going over time.
Sustaining that interaction without reverting to your native language is the hallmark of a bilingual brain.
Revert. To return to a previous state, practice, or topic.
If you can circumlocute and substitute so that you never have to stop and say, how do you say? In your native language, you are thinking in English. Even if you don't know the specific word, the process of thought remains in English. You are staying in the bubble.
That is such a liberating concept. I don't need to know every single word in the dictionary. I just need to know how to describe every word. I need the tool set to circumlocute.
Exactly. But even with the strategy, you will have bad days. And the text addresses this. It talks about the plateau.
Oh, yes. The feeling that you just aren't getting any better. You put in the work, but you feel stuck. The text says anxiety can distort your perception of progress.
Distort, to pull or twist out of shape, to give a misleading or false account or impression.
So anxiety is a liar. It distorts reality. It makes you feel like you are stagnating.
Stagnate, to cease developing, to become inactive or dull. Like water in a pond that doesn't move. It gets green, it smells bad, it stagnates.
So when you feel like your English is stagnating, what do? The text has a very simple one-word answer. Persist.
Persist. To continue firmly or obstinately in a course of action in spite of difficulty, opposition, or failure.
You just keep going. You grit your teeth and you persist. And you have to evaluate your progress differently.
Evaluate. To form an idea of the amount, number, or value of something. To assess.
Right. Don't evaluate your English based on one bad conversation where you forgot the word for umbrella. Evaluate it over months, not days.
And finally, you have to recognize that the struggle itself is good.
Recognize. To acknowledge the existence, validity, or legality of something.
You have to recognize that when your brain hurts from speaking English, it's growing. It's like going to the gym. If your muscles don't burn a little, you aren't getting any stronger.
Okay, speaking of the gym, we've covered the mindset and the speaking strategies. Now we need to talk about the heavy lifting. The text calls these advanced tools.
Right. Reading and writing.
Two things a lot of people try to avoid.
They do, but the text states that reading constitutes one of the most effective ways to expand vocabulary and internalize grammar.
Expand. To make larger or more extensive, that's obvious. But internalize, that's a deep one.
Internalize. To make attitudes or behavior part of one's nature by learning or unconscious assimilation. When you internalize grammar, you don't think about the rules anymore. You don't think subject plus verb plus object. It just feels right.
It's in your gut. It becomes instinctual.
Yes. And reading helps you do this because you see words in their natural habitat. It helps you distinguish between synonyms.
Distinguish. To recognize or treat someone or something as different.
For example, the words big, large, huge, enormous. They all mean similar things, but they're used in slightly different contexts. Reading helps you distinguish which one fits best, and it helps you grasp subtle connotations.
Grasp. To seize and hold firmly. But mentally, it means to understand something fully.
But here is the catch, and the text is very strict about this. You can't just read passively. You can't just let your eyes glaze over the page. You must adopt an active reading strategy.
Adopt. To choose to take up, follow, or use.
You need to adopt a strategy where you analyze the text.
Analyze. To examine methodically and in detail the constitution or structure of something.
Don't just read the story, analyze the sentences. Why did the author use that word? Why is that comma there? The text suggests you literally highlight phrases.
Highlight. To pick out and emphasize. So actually get a highlighter pen and mark up the book?
Yes, and speculate on their function.
Speculate. To form a theory or conjecture about a subject without firm evidence.
Ask yourself questions. I speculate that he used the passive voice here to hide who did the action. You are playing detective with the text.
You observe how the author organizes arguments.
Observe, to notice or perceive something and register it as being significant.
And then the ultimate goal. You integrate these structures into your own work.
Integrate. To combine one thing with another so they become a whole. You see a cool sentence structure in a book, and you integrate it into your own speech or writing. You steal it.
Which brings us to writing. Most people hate writing. It feels like homework. But the text says writing allows you to consolidate what you have learned.
And here is that word again, consolidate. It's so crucial. It means to make something physically stronger or more solid.
I'm imagining pouring concrete.
Yeah.
You know, it's liquid and messy at first, but then it sets and consolidates. It becomes rock.
That is exactly what writing does for memory and learning. Speaking is fluid. It disappears into the air. Writing is concrete. It cements the knowledge in your brain.
So what does the text suggest?
It advises you to allocate time each day to draft a journal.
Allocate. To distribute resources or duties for a particular purpose. So you need to budget your time. Allocate 20 minutes a day just for writing.
And in that time, challenge yourself.
Challenge. To invite or force someone to take part in a contest or to prove their ability.
Challenge yourself to use the new words you learned that day. Use circumlocute in a sentence. Use stagnate. Writing gives you the time and space to formulate precise thoughts.
Formulate. To create or devise methodically.
When you speak, you're in a rush. You use the first word that comes to mind. When you write, you can pause. You can formulate the perfect sentence. You can choose the perfect verb.
But there's a warning, isn't there?
There is, if you neglect writing.
Neglect.
Yeah.
To fail to care for properly.
If you neglect this practice, your active vocabulary may diminish.
Diminish. To make or become less.
Your vocabulary will shrink. The words you learned but don't use will fade away. Writing keeps them alive. It keeps the muscles working.
This leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. The thing everyone hates but everyone needs. Grammar. But the text offers a really different perspective on grammar. It doesn't talk about rules so much as function.
Yes. It says grammar's true purpose is to convey time, certainty, and relationships.
Convey.
Yeah?
To transport or carry to a place. Or in communication, to make an idea, impression, or feeling known or understandable.
Grammar conveys the reality of a situation. It's not just rules to memorize. The text says you should not memorize rules in isolation. Instead, you should generate examples.
Generate. To cause something to arise or come about, to create.
Don't just read the rule for the present perfect tense. Generate 5 sentences about your own life using it, and learn to manipulate the grammar.
Manipulate.
Oh.
To handle or control, typically in a skillful manner.
This is where you become a master. You need to be able to manipulate modal verbs, for instance. Just think about the difference between I must go and I should go.
Must implies there is no choice. Should implies it's a good idea, but I might not do it.
Exactly. Those small changes express nuance.
Express. To convey a thought or feeling in words.
To really think in English, you must appreciate these subtleties.
Appreciate. To understand a situation fully. To recognize the full worth of.
You need to appreciate that grammar allows you to paint with different colors, and the text suggests a mental gym exercise, transforming sentences.
Transform. To make a thorough or dramatic change in the form, appearance, or character of.
Take a simple sentence and alter the tense.
Alter. To change or cause to change in character or composition.
Take, I eat the apple. Now alter it to the past. I ate the apple. Now transform it to the passive voice. The apple was eaten by me. Now manipulate the certainty. I might eat the apple.
You're playing with the reality of the sentence. You're twisting it and turning it.
Yes. And this practice enables you to construct sophisticated thoughts on the fly.
Enable. to give someone the authority or means to do something.
This practice enables fluidity. It makes your brain flexible. It makes you a verbal gymnast.
So we have covered a massive amount of ground. We've talked about abandoning translation, circumlocuting around blocks, consolidating through writing, and manipulating grammar. But the text concludes with a reminder, doesn't it, that this is a continuous evolution.
Yes. Thinking in English is not a destination. You don't just arrive one day and stop. It is a process that constantly evolves.
Evolve, to develop gradually, especially from a simple to a more complex form.
Your English will evolve from simple labels like chair to complex, abstract thoughts about circumlocution, but you must commit to the journey.
Commit. To pledge or bind oneself to a certain course or policy.
You have to be all in. You must reject the comfort of translation.
Reject. To dismiss as inadequate, inappropriate, or not to one's taste.
Reject the easy way and embrace the discomfort.
Embrace. To accept or support a belief or change willingly and enthusiastically, you have to hug the struggle. Embrace the headache.
And you need to be your own boss in this. You must administer your own learning schedule.
Administer. To manage and be responsible for the running of something.
You are the CEO of your English learning. You must monitor your habits.
Monitor. To observe and check the progress or quality of something over a period of time.
Monitor yourself. Are you catching yourself translating? Stop. Are you reading passively? Stop. You have to monitor and revise.
Revise. To reconsider and alter something in the light of further evidence.
If a strategy isn't working for you, revise it. Change it. Adapt.
And the final warnings from the text are pretty stark. Do not postpone your practice. Postpone. To cause or arrange for something to take place at a time later than that first scheduled. Don't say, I'll do it tomorrow. Don't postpone.
And if you maintain discipline.
Maintain. To cause or enable a condition or state of affairs to continue.
If you maintain your habits, the text says English will eventually emerge naturally.
This has been intense, but in a really good way. I feel like I've not only learned a strategy for thinking, but I've just downloaded a massive update for my vocabulary.
That was the goal. We have utilized the vocabulary to explain the method.
Let's do a quick lightning round recap of the big ideas just to make sure they stick for everyone listening.
Let's do it.
Abandon translation. It hinders you.
Number 2, cultivate a direct link between an object and the English word for it.
3, suppress the urge to correlate new words with your native tongue.
4, compensate for your environment by consuming English media.
5, infer the meaning of new words. Don't just look them up immediately.
6, circumlocute when you get stuck. Never cease speaking.
7, consolidate what you've learned by writing it down.
And 8, manipulate grammar to convey nuance.
And through it all, persist when you feel like you are stagnating.
Exactly.
That's the whole system.
You know, usually we end with a summary, but we just did that. So I want to ask you something based on all of this. We talked about having to alter your internal monologue.
Yes, fundamentally.
So if I stop translating and I start thinking in English, does my personality change?
That is the provocative question, isn't it?
Right, because language isn't just words. It carries culture. It carries attitude. It carries a whole structure of thought.
I think it's a valid hypothesis to speculate on. When you alter the language of your internal monologue, you are literally changing the filter through which you perceive the world.
Wow.
Different languages prioritize different things.
Yeah.
Some are more direct, some are more polite, some are more emotional. They have different rhythms.
So if I internalize English grammar and vocabulary, do I effectively become a slightly different version of myself?
I would argue yes. There's an old proverb. To have another language is to possess a second soul. You expand not just your vocabulary, but your identity. You become someone who can access a whole new way of being in the world.
That is a wild thought to leave you with. You aren't just learning words, you are cultivating a new part of yourself.
A part that thinks, feels, and exists entirely in English.
So your challenge for today, for everyone listening, go out and label your world. Look at your coffee cup, look at the sky, look at your shoes, and associate them with the English word immediately. Suppress the translation, embrace the English.
And don't postpone it. Start right now.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you in the next one.
Keep cultivating.